see earlier on. Of course, knocked out Guy Chamberlain and Dave Friend. And Mike Taylor, SS9, well, we beat, let me see, Mark Plattman in the first round, sorry about that. And looks as though this is going to be a close run thing.
Well, Guy Chamberlain from the Isle of Sheppey on a GSX 1100E, he's in the left-hand lane. Katana in the hands of Mike Taylor. Over there with Sylvester and Twitty Pie on the back of his leathers, very, very distinctive leathers. So here we come, moving up into the staging beams. Mark Fossey, Mike Taylor. Place your money now. Here comes the green, and it is Mark Fossey. So he takes the win, and times and speeds just coming through.
10.08 for the win for Mark Fossey, 129 miles an hour. Lose out time for Mike Taylor, 10.45 at 132. So a good win there for Mark. And this is Super Street now, and it's Ron Russell, I do believe, over there on the spectators side, and he should be running against Steve Sykes.
Yes, indeed. Steve coming out into the left-hand lane here, SS14. Going to be a battle of Suzuki's again. Sykes on a Katana, Ron Russell on a GSX, and certainly these two were qualifying very, very close together. Ron Russell qualified with a 944, Steve Sykes qualified with a 967. Ron Russell was our number 3 qualifier, Steve Sykes our number 5. They're almost running along with a bit of string between the two of them. Ron Russell missed the shift there, and it's Steve Sykes who takes the win in Super Street Fight. Well, that's a turn up for the book. The number 5 shutting down the number 3. Times and speed, Steve, please.
9.72, 143 miles an hour for Steve Sykes taking that win. Lose out time for Ron Russell, 10.25, 142 miles an hour. Oh, we move back with two-wheel action and Super Gas. Well, Richie Lee, he has been running very well again. Did well at Easter in the final here, has run 9.90 this weekend. Paul Jenkins, of course, he's also run right on that 990 index. This looks like it's going to be a very close run thing for the final. Well, Mopar Menace, sorry, Paul Jenkins in the pit lane and Richie Lee over on the spectator side.
Well, you're quite right there about the qualifying, of course, because both of these men have run something like 9.91. And that means, of course, that what's going to happen here is they're both going to try and nudge one another over that 990 index. And it's not for the faint-hearted, this, because you've got to try and figure out whether you're running 990 or whether you're going to run underneath it, because if you run underneath it, you eliminate yourself. So who's it going to be then? Richie Lee from Watford in the right-hand lane, Paul Jenkins in the left-hand lane from Surrey as they move in the Mopar Menace against the Southern Raider. Just sliding in there, building the rest up there. Away together. I think they're running side by side there. This is where it's at the top end, and it's Richie Lee who gets there first. And now the all-important thing is times and speeds.
Well, we wait for those to come through, and at the moment, waiting still for Paul Jenkins' time. Well, Paul Jenkins ran 9.98, but unfortunately for Richie Lee, just that little bit too quick, 9.89, 1/100th of a second under the index.
So he loses.
Paul Jenkins takes the win.
Well, there
That's
you
that
are.
sort of racing in Supergas,
So
tremendous.
it was whoever put their nose over first broke out, and it could have been either one of them. But the Southern Raider loses out. That was the Firebird there. And congratulations to the Mopar Menace in the left-hand lane, and Paul Jenkins, he takes the win.
Finals coming thick and fast now. Pro Stock Auction, Cole Rule knocked out then Paget in the semi-final. For that, of course, he knocked out Kerry Bizzy. Wayne Saunders, where we've seen him run 8.2s on his way to this final, beating Nick Pepper and Mark Clutton.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one, this, I think, because on qualifying, these two were so close together. Wayne Saunders has run 8.36 during qualifying, 8.34 for Cole Rule, but then of course Wayne Saunders has put down, the man in the left-hand lane closest to the grandstand, has put down an 8.23 during competition. Now it really looks as though Cole Rule is going to have a fight on his hands here now, because originally sitting on top of the pile with that 8:34, he's backed that up with another 8:34 in competition.
But I've got to say, I think how I would have read this race, that Cole Rule may get a slight jump away from the start line. That bike is very, very powerful away from the line. But Wayne Saunders has been putting in some phenomenal top-end speeds, 162 miles an hour. So I think he'll try his best to catch him at the top end. It's going to be very, very close indeed, this final.
Okay, so here we go. Just moving up to the start line. JCB International Team, Cole Rule in the right-hand lane. And from Viking Tyres in the left-hand lane, that's Wayne Saunders building the revs up as they move in. Wayne Saunders in stay straight away, building the revs. There they go, they're away together. Wayne Saunders was just that's Wayne Saunders who takes the win, and a super run for him. Now let's see what the time is for Wayne Saunders, because that looked a really good run.
Well, John, you weren't wrong. Wayne Saunders, 8.19, 156 miles an hour.
Oh, well
done to Len, everybody.
That's superb. So 8:19.
Lose our time to Cole Rule. Sorry to interrupt you there, John. 8.38, 152, but 8.19. I told you, John, those sevens aren't far away.
No, indeed. And with Paul Willis running down low 8.2s just before we started our finals, that really is looking good for the rest of the season. We have got 26 bikes lined up for Pro Stock this year, all registered, raring to go. So that looks very, very good. Well, here we go, the final of Pro Modified. Well, what do you reckon here, Steve?
Well, Tim Cook, I would have said, would have been the underdog until that run on late week Sunday afternoon. Dave Warne, the car established, a good low 8-second performer, but Tim Cook came out and stunned everybody yesterday by so quickly getting back into the 7.90 for him at 186 miles an hour, so really moving. Dave Warne, I think he's going to try and hole shot him. We may even see a red light from Dave Warne. He really is going to have to lead very hard to try and beat Tim Cook here.
Well, big block engine for Dave Warne, of course, no nitrous oxide. He didn't want me to point that out to everybody here. Tim's running, of course, with the big block car and nitrous oxide, so Dave Warne suddenly becomes the underdog with the mean as hell Sierra in the left-hand lane. Let's wait and see what happens. These are the two big cars, the big door slammers Pro Modified. So hard and really coasting along the sideline, but it's Dave Warne who takes the win. Well, there you are, so close between those two, but it's Dave Warne who gets to the top end first, Big Dave, and let's have a look at the times and the speeds for the mean as hell car as it comes through.
Dave Warne takes that win, tremendous race there, 8.46, 164 miles an hour. Lose out time for Tim Cook, 8.63, 156.
Well, I think that may have unsettled Tim a little bit. He did launch off very hard there, off towards the right, and it looked as though he was skirting that white line all the way down in that right-hand lane. But a good win for Dave Warne. He'll be pleased with that one. And Tim Cook, really, the world is his oyster now, I think. He's confirmed in the 7th, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of great runs from that machine in the future. Exciting looking machine to watch leaving the start line though, isn't it? Really hooks the wheels up skyward. Quite incredible. This is competition bike,
and we have Martin Peck, who in earlier rounds put out Lance White and Pete Lacrosse in the final here against Gordon Diggins. He in turn put out Nigel Brooks and Mark Stiles. So the Queasy Rider, well, we've already said this weekend, Gordon Diggins seems to be running just that little bit quicker every time. The bike performing very well, but Martin Peck with that 1500cc Suzuki, I think he must rate the favourite's edge, but we've seen already, as we said, so many upsets on bikes today.
Well, yeah, indeed. Gordon Diggins really getting quicker now, getting down into the low 9s, 9.2. He managed to put down Martin Peck 8.63.
Well, problems there for Martin Peck. I see him being pushed away from the burnout area. The red light on the tree, so probably right at the end there. That one final upset we've been talking about. Gordon Diggins soloing for the final.
Oh, well, that's a great shame, isn't it, to break down right on the start line. So, congratulations to this man then, the Kawasaki rider, Gordon Diggins. He takes the win all on his own. And I wonder what sort of a run he's going to put in, building the revs up. And just misses.
Doesn't want to cross that centre line there. Very still that competition when he's on a bye run. Very, very quickly. I know we're in elimination, but I can see Canute and the crew down there selling those last few raffle tickets for that replica nose cone from the Budweiser car. Dig deep into your pockets just one more time there this weekend. That's a superb trophy to take home with you. Let's have a look at the time for Gordon Diggins. 10.18, 148 miles an hour.
Well, there you are. Nothing to chase that time for Gordon Diggins. Back down into the 10s again, but he'll be pleased with the weekend's work. Down into the low 9s, possibly knocking on the doors of the 8s as we move into our senior eliminator.
Well, this is the one you've been dreading all afternoon.
Yeah, because
Bobby Johnston and Chris Johnson.
Yep, it's Johnston and Johnson. It sounds like further solicitors, doesn't it? Johnson and Johnston. But it's the Hampshire Hog. Now, I've been castigated for saying Hampshire Hog, but I'm sure that is the name of the car. There's no H's, is there?
That's right, it's Hampshire Hog.
So that's Chris Johnson in the lane nearest the main grandstand.
Well, let's see how Chris got to the final. In the first round, he had a bye run, and in the semi, he beat Ray Barrow. Lee Johnson, he had a bye as well. And in the semi, he beat Carl Wilkinson.
Well, these two qualified within 0.03 of a second of one another, but I've got an idea that Lee Johnstone over there has got down underneath the 10.62 that he put down earlier on.
He certainly has 10.63 he ran in the last round. And let's work out these indexes very quickly. 11.28 for Lee Johnson. There's the handicap. Lee Johnson makes a nasty job that handicap.
Well, let's see if he's on. Is he on a breakout? No, he's not. So there you go. So the win arrow going on in the right-hand lane for Lee Johnston and the Thriller car. And time and speed for him.
10.54 at 125 miles an hour. So getting quicker again. This is the best ever for that car.
And lose out for Chris.
Chris Johnson, 11.45 at 117.
Well, we're getting near the end of our queue, our car parked queue at the back there. As we look behind us, we can see the funny cars lined up, ready to do battle. And also our Scandinavian Pro Stock cars. We've got all four of them back down again. And also our Super Eliminators, Brian Johnson with Paranoia down there, Martin Brown with the Dragster. As our final run between our two funny bikes. And although it's the best of three, Chris Hampson already had that win, doesn't he?
Certainly does, and fine start line reactions from Chris has really seen him overpower Paul Willis. Paul's been charging back at him towards the top end, but really has been running well, and I think Paul's looking for a little bit of revenge here.
Well, yeah, I would think so, certainly. Wasn't it the other way around at the last meeting? I'm trying to remember, because we had...
No, because Chris wasn't here. I think we had just Paul Willis on his own.
Okay, alright, stand to be sorry about that. But anyway, it's Chris Hampson from Stoke-on-Trent on the JCB funny bike. This is the third of three, and it looks as though he's lost fire down there. That's the crew chief running up there with the starter, putting that on against separate starter. Yes, there we are, flipping the throttle again. So crew chief just making sure everything's okay, putting the bike actually into gear. But here they come, winding up the revs. You can hear them, really do sound like an angry swarm of bees or hornets or something. As they really build the revs up. Here we come, there's the green, and it's Willis away first. Now the Chris Hampson really lost it on the start line there. So a little bit of face save there by Paul Willis, taking the third of the three runs there. And what was Paul Willis's time?
7.88, 145 miles an hour for him. Lose out for Chris Hampson with a very troubled run indeed. 11.44 at 85.
Well, this is our Super Eliminator now, and it's a Dragster against a Jaguar Altered, and there's the Jag Altered coming out into the right hand lane. That's Paranoia, Brian Thomas at the controls, and coming out into the left hand lane, the small block Chevrolet powered Dragster of Martin Brown. Well, side by side, rolling burnouts there to warm up those rear tyres. And how are they doing on their indexes, Steve?
Well, our index is Brian Thomas 9.19, and the index for Martin Brown 10.13. So just over a second in the favour of Martin Brown. Brian Thomas is going to be the one that's playing catch up. I would say he's got to put a third run in the 8s. We saw 8.77 yesterday, 8.94 in the semis against Jeff Martin.
Yeah.
So he really has got to run well.
He's really got to go for it. And, I know he doesn't particularly want to lean on that engine too much, but if needs must, it would suit his purposes. Of course, he carries the number 1 plate at the moment, and he's likely to get some more points for the 1990 championship if he takes the win here. So let's see how we're going to go. Don't forget, you're going to see the dragster leave first. We've still got the reds on the tree there, and quite obviously there's something on the strip up at the top end. I don't know what's holding us up, that last pair of runners. That would be the funny bikes, I think, but certainly red lights on the tree.
Well, I can already see Brian Thomas's crew chief watching very carefully the temperature of that engine. And as I find it's being told to cut off, we're going to run them later. We can see our fire truck going out at the top end to check something out. So we've got a hold situation for a few moments there while we sort that out.
It's quite lonely not making your way into the final by beating anybody at all. Power in that dragster. A good hard charge for him, taking the win, and let's give him his time and speed.
10.14 at 106 miles an hour.
Well, we'll be on with the rest of our finalists in a moment. What we are going to do, I understand, on our Nordic Pro Stockers down there, we're going to look for the... How about that for a photograph then? Side by side rolling burnouts from these two top fuel bikes. Bill Brackvogel, of course, has put down a 7.14 here this weekend. He's the man out there in the lane, closest to the main grandstand. 194 mile an hour he has run on that machine. Mark Pemble, he ain't slow either. 7.44 from Mark Pemble over there in the right-hand lane. 183 miles per hour that machine has run. So we're going to see some really, really quick top fuel racing here. So let's move the bikes back. There we are. Frank Brackvogel out there. The Brackvogels have been very heavily involved with us here today on this Darrell Gwynn appeal day. And Frank just putting his thumbs up as Phil chirps the machine up to the line. Here comes Mark Pemble just chirping his machine up to the line. And you watch these two riders try and control these bikes as they get going. It really is a hard job, isn't it, to control these machines when they leave the start line?
Certainly is. Mark Pemble had a wild ride earlier on. You can see him laying all over the bike, trying to keep it under control. As John said many times, had to steer these bikes with their backside. There they go, both. That was a good run.